It's always been that he's very generous. I mean, extremely generous. There's no good in having anything if you can't share it with everybody. And that has always been his philosophy.
But it's the reason everybody wants to be around her, right? She has an energy about her. She lights up a room. She's usually almost always the funnest person at the party. You know what I mean? Whether there's a microphone in her hand or not, she's having a good time. And that's just, for me, being able to sit back and watch how she impacts other people is so attractive.
In today's social media obsessed world, we all see the successes, the world record breaking, and the achievements of the people we look up to. But what we don't see is what goes on behind the scene. Hosted by power couple Dean and Alana Stott, this show is dedicated to asking difficult questions while discovering the support systems and people behind those we love and respect in media, business, athletics, and high-performance culture. Dean and Alana believe that through honest communication, teamwork, and mutual respect, that anything is possible.
Like, there's not a better partner I could choose who's equally as crazy as me, because we have a chip on our shoulder to prove people wrong, you know, and to prove ourselves right.
I can go be the face of this. I can go do this, but I don't understand the back end of this. I have to learn business. I have to learn how this works.
Many couples in this dynamic are stuck and unable to move forward in an identity crisis.
Marcus's energy is so bad. I feel like I need to cleanse my house. Like, it is so, it's suffocating. And then seeing him 24 hours later, he was as light as air. Yeah.
And we literally embraced, hugged. I stepped back and I said, this is exactly what the guys need.
When we can look behind the scene and learn from each other, we can finally move forward and transform into our fullest potential.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry. Okay. When they were going to start Trio, which is the real estate company, we sat at dinner with the other two partners one night, and they're not pitching things to me, but they're telling me, and our office space is going to be here, and this is going to happen, and there's going to be this many cubicles, and there's going to be this, and I'm thinking, okay, there's three of you, like, what? Where's the money coming from? And I spoke up and said, that sounds crazy to me. Like, I thought you guys were starting in this really small space with just the three of you, and you were really going to build this out. And eventually, a few years down the road, when you built this, then you'd be at this level that you're talking about starting at. And the one of the guys looked at me and said, "Oh, it's because you don't have a business mind that you don't understand."
Yeah, that went over like a lead balloon.
And, and I kind of went, and I looked at Matt and I thought, okay. And I remember leaving and saying to him, this conversation's going to come back to us one day.
Yeah.
This conversation's going to come back because I'm being rational. And the three of you are not being rational. And you, at that time, he was like, you're just being a downer. You're like really trying to why aren't you trying to build us up? And I said, no, this doesn't sound right. It just doesn't sound right. And of course, we bring it up.
Yeah, I brought it a lot of hassle if I would have listened to that.
Yeah. Well, and he said,
you didn't listen.
No, they did not listen.
I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. And I remember turning to her when we got in the car on the way home, and obviously we were discussing it. And I said, I didn't say that, you don't have an eye for business, but I had said something to the effect of, you don't, this isn't what you do every day type of thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I kind of reinforced what that other person had said, which is a bad move on my part. Mm-hmm. And really, I think that, if you look at, it's not just our relationship, but if you look at, how many times this is like, I remember episodes of TV. You remember the show, The Honeymooners?
I don't know.
Anyways, this is back in but you look back at like TV sketches where the husband comes home with a great big idea and the wife's like, are you crazy? You know what I mean? And so it was very similar to that, and then the husband, the natural response, in me was, I'm going to show her wrong. You know what I mean? I'm going to show her that we can do this. And, that's just maturity, I think, maturity, not just of age, but maturity of relationship, maturity of, I always tell people now when I talk to folks on my team and people say, what's the recipe for success? And I say humility.
Yeah.
Humility, number one.
Yeah.
And I never understood what humility was. And I never certainly practiced humility in those early days. And now it's kind of like how I am, and it's, a lot easier today to swallow some of those conversations and look back. I'm glad we're looking back. And it's not, we're still dealing with it.
When that gets brought up, which is not it's not like I bring it up all the time. Like, remember that time I told you so?
Oh, she throws it in my face all the time.
No, but we've had moments where people have asked questions with us, like, oh, so how, whatever happened? And we've said this, and he'll bring it up, like, if I just would have like stopped what I was doing and listened to what she was trying to say, because she wasn't trying to, emasculate me or us, or bring us, bring us down and make us feel like just more of another perspective. So now he's able to say, hey, this happened at office today, or this is happening, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And if I'm able to give my, this is what it sounds like to me. And he's able to say, okay, all right, that makes sense. I just would have never thought of it.
Now I just take her ideas and make them my own.
Yeah.
Well, he does like to do that.
Absolutely.
He'll say, I have this great idea to the team, and I'm in the background like,
I have some great ideas, and before I've left the room, Alana's already trademarked them.
Right, exactly.
But I can actually relate to a little bit that when I left the military, obviously Special Force, knew nothing about business and entered this world of private security. And I used to go to meetings in London and meet these experts who I thought were experts. And I would come back and say to Alana, yeah, but these guys are the experts. Say no. And Alana would do the same. She'd offer me advice, and I didn't really appreciate that actually Alana knew that they were just trying to take advantage of me and use my skill sets and things like that. So there was occasions that I did that in the past. It was only now that I learned through
But I think that's
my
then
own
it
errors.
becomes experience. And
then maturity.
As you say, you learn from any failures. It's the same thing that now back then I would almost be like, why is he not listening to me? I know this guy is going to do this, or I know this guy is going to do this, and it would happen again. But I kind of built up a bank of saying, well, I told you about that guy, I told you about that guy, I told you about that guy. I was right all those times. So why are you saying I'm wrong this time? He's going to do the same. He's doing the same as them. So now I'm able to actually be a bit more like, I've got the examples in the past. But it was, I guess, frustrating when you can see somebody, because somebody like Dean will do anything to help anyone. And these people see that, and then they'll take advantage. So now I've got to the point where I've earned my stripes, I guess, to be able to say, you will listen to me this time.
I'd come from a culture where in the Special Forces, you have to trust everyone around you. If you don't trust them, you're going to die. Yeah. So I come from a society where everyone is there to help each other. Alana comes from the corporate world. So when I left the military, I was everyone's out to help each other. And she's like, really? Well, and I learned the hard way a few times. And going back to the gentleman from Trio, when he made that comment, we do it now quite easy. There's a couple of people that make comments who don't understand the dynamics of our relationship and our business. And, they may make a comment about Lana. That's it, they cut out straight away, because they've shown no respect to my wife or my business partner, but that's come with time. But no, I can relate completely to what you guys are just saying.
I think I was always coming from the mindset of, look what I'm gonna help build this for our family. This is for us. This is for, what I mean? And only seeing what could be. Yeah. And she was seeing, what's happening. Right. Yeah. And that's where, you got to sometimes flush those ideas out of your head a little bit.
And I think, as you've said, you can trust her to run the place you live, raise the children, raise your legacy, I guess. So I guess for anybody else that's listening, like, if you're having that moment, think about who that person is you're speaking to and how skilled they are in all the other areas. Why are they? Well,
and to be fair too, now if you were talking about instances where the idea was shit in her mind and couldn't be executed, wasn't timing was off, whatever. But what I've noticed over the years, in particular with Trisource, is when ideas are being presented, because I've built trust with her, Trisource started in this matchbox of a size office and now has, grown into, multiple sites and, hundreds of thousands of square feet of space where people are occupying. And, I get the question a lot about, what do you think about a CEO? And I think about, the amount of people we have on the team times 3 to 4 is who I'm responsible for every day, who we're responsible for. And that roughly equates to about 10,000 people that rely on the Reeser family to make great decisions, right? And for Trisource and for the company. And, for us personally, it's great because when I come to her and say, hey, we're opening an office here, she has no questions asked, right? She doesn't question a thing. I mean, we talk about it, but, if I say we're making an investment in this, I think she, over the last 15 years, she's seen, okay, this thing has legs and the proof of concept. And, we always joke that, about, the old days, but that's nice for me to know that, hey, I've come over that hurdle of, an idea being just something,
Well, Matt's had a lot of ideas. I mean, that's just,
here we go.
We've talked about like 2 right now, but there have been multiple ideas. There have been multiple ideas where I'm like, okay.
I don't even bring them up now.
I used to come back from some security tasks, and the problem is I left Alana alone on her own for too long. I'd come back and we would have a whole list of these great ideas, and some of them came to fruition and some didn't. But I think you have to.
But that would be the interesting question. How did you deal with? Did you shoot them down, or did you discuss them? Did you support them? How did you deal with the multitude of ideas?
There's always a discussion behind the idea. What?
She shoots them down like a 50 count.
That lead balloon.
There's usually there is a discussion, but in the discussion, usually within my second, third, fourth question of, so how is this going to be? And what have you thought about this? And what would happen to this if we did that? And if we did it this way, he kind of.
And by that time, the idea looks like a slice of Swiss cheese.
There's so many holes in this idea that he kind of goes, I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna come back to you on that idea. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then there's another idea, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, what about this? And have you thought about what you would do if this happened? And have you thought about this situation? And then he'll be, okay, I'm going to come back to you then on that situation, on that idea. So there have been a lot of ideas. It's just.
Well, the great part about this is now I kind of keep the ideas to myself nowadays because I'm pretty occupied, but it's funny to watch. My son is like me, right? So my son looks like her, my personality. Daughter looks like me, her personality.
Yes.
So now she's dealing with all over again another Matt. You know what I mean? In terms of, hey, mom, I got this great idea. What do you think? It's like, oh my God. It's like, listening to me, 20
Well, she said the
ago.
experience.
Yeah. Now she knows
but
exactly.
I think it's good, especially when it comes to kids. It's something that I preach constantly, that we listen to every single one of them. I mean, I think at the moment, Tommy is a zookeeper and a guitarist. He's going to do both at the same time. And great, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how that works. Molly wants to start a business, so we'll talk through the stages of never would I shoot down their ideas. As in, if I did need to shoot it down, I'd do exactly the same. Well, let's talk about it. Let's go through that. Maybe that bit could change, maybe until the point that she'll give that up. It's just not a great idea. But I do hear so often, especially amongst some of the wives that I speak to, who'll be, he's had a stupid idea. I told him he's an idiot. I told him, maybe that's not the best of communication. So to make him feel that small, it's not a good idea.
Words are powerful. My presentation, I tell him my dad told me the last 2 minutes, but that was my driving force. But Alana used to have some weird and wonderful ideas. I would still listen. I would never say anything. And then we'll probably never hear them again. Those that you did want to do, you took forward.
I think some of them were. I remember during COVID coming downstairs and saying, we're moving to America. And Dean was like, aren't we in the middle of a pandemic? No, let's do it.
And I believed her when she said she was going to do it. I thought, okay, me and the kids will just follow you. So, and here we are in the US. But the Trisource, I obviously came down, met you guys or the management team. What has been, I've got my own, I think I know the answer to this anyway. What has been the success of Trisource, do you think?
Sure.
So, for me, the success is that we've had a lot of, short-term, midterm success stories. I think that today, to see the impact that we've made in the, our part of the world that we serve, Central America, Mexico, going from, one really small location to 7, and the quantity of people I just mentioned that we're responsible for. My goal as CEO for Trisource is to have our team develop professionally, personally, and financially, right? Yeah. And so when I see things or hear things like, hey, a teammate in Nicaragua just bought their first house as a result of this job. One thing that we've done is we've tried to be a premier employer of choice in those markets, typically between 25 and 30% higher wages, along with just the way that our culture is different than, what you would expect in those types of work environments. But when they say things like that, or, hey, we have a lot of husband and wife teams that, are part of Trisource in different campaigns and things like that. And that results in them achieving things like first car purchases, first home purchases, being able to send their kids to private school. That's a big thing for us. And so we just actually ran a statistic the other day during musings with Matt. I was telling you that we do once a month, and we did just in the senior leadership team, 35% of the team had achieved that goal as a result of starting with Trisource. So that's a big number. You think 35% is on the lower spectrum, but when you talk about, that asking that question and what the impact that makes on them, it was awesome. So, we have successes like that, which, once you build a business to a certain size and scope and scale, I think the leadership and my vision starts to shift into things that I'm describing there. Yeah. But certainly, we're competitive as all hell, right? Mm-hmm. We want to be the premier nearshore supplier of services in our outsourcing industry, and, being able to compete and bring on great clients like we've been able to do. That motivates me and it excites me and excites our team. You've met Jeff, and you know how he is, and so we're bringing on some really, really good household names that and doing great work for them. So that's a success. So the culmination of I think the business scale meeting the humanitarian effort is really, in my mind, the collision of success for us.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, which I can relate to, and I really appreciate you saying it, is obviously I've traveled with, me and Alana traveled world, we see different cultures. And, a lot of people in America, I was on a podcast last week, and the gentleman there talked about his friend who was in Kuwait, but he just assumed it was a terrorist-run country because of what you've seen on TV. People's perception of some of these third worlds and these other countries is these people, may not be as bright as you, but you've identified, and what I like about Trisource is your talent pool is in these countries, and your team is a reflection of you. You're only as good as your support network. So what I love here is the fact that you haven't sourced in the US, you have sourced local and identified that they are just as good, if not better, than the talent pool here. And the second one I picked up on when I was speaking with you guys was that leadership team relationship. It felt like a family. It didn't feel like there was a hierarchical system within there. We were all temping bowling in the evening and things like that. And that's what I thought was potentially one of the successes of Trisource as well. It wasn't a job. It was actually a family relationship.
Yeah. Well, and that's funny because the way he answered that question is completely different than the way I would have answered the success of Trisource.
I'll let you answer.
And I think the success of Trisource is really at the top of it is Matt, and the fact that Matt has a heart of gold. And I will say that to anybody. Matt, when we met, was rough around the edges. And we've said this before, he was really rough around the edges. And I remember my friend saying, "You're going to date that guy?" Yeah. And I remember saying, "But the guy is the nicest guy I've ever met. His heart, like, you just can't, you have to, like, when you get to know him, you'll understand there's a heart of gold there, and he's funny as hell. So, I mean, he's going to like entertain me forever and love me forever. What else do you want from a person? Yeah. A person who's got not just looking out for himself, and therefore who he's surrounded himself with, he does treat like family, and some of them are our family." And therefore, there's a symbiotic relationship of Matt is never going to let Trisource fail because he would let down so many people that he could never imagine that happening. But the people that are there to support Matt are never going to let Matt fail. And therefore, it is a family. You know, my sister is one of the directors, and she is 1000% going to be, you know, gung-ho Trisource, because she would never let Matt down. And yet Matt would never let her down because she relies on us and on Matt. And therefore, there's a good relationship there. A lot of people are like that for us at Trisource. Half of them are our best friends.
Yeah.
And people like our HR person, Heather, who was a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and she kind of was in a weird spot in her life of, I need to do something else, you know, but I've done what I wanted to do with teaching, but I need to do something else. And Matt really, in getting to know her, we've been friends with Heather for 18 years, 18 years, something like that. And she's so smart and she's so driven. And Matt was like, I could use her at Trisource. I know all of her skills. We're going to use her at Trisource. And she is 1000% invested in Trisource. And her husband, Tony, is now our director of Wicked Chicken. Yeah. And, you know, it's like that for us. You know, Jeff is, we met Jeff at Lamaze class when we were pregnant. We were each pregnant with our first sons. And I became really good friends with his wife, Rachel, who I had lunch with last week. And, you know, we're going to their second son's graduation party. And it's just, we have this relationship with everyone at Trisource, the management team, where they are our family. They are our closest friends in our family. And they love us and they love Matt. And Matt looks out for them. And therefore, the success of Trisource is that it's a family. And even if you just came on, obviously we don't just hire our friends and family, but when you come on, we want you to feel like you're part of, we're including you in this family. And therefore we want to do retreats and we want to go bowling with everyone and we want to get to know everybody. We want to throw them baby showers when they're pregnant. And, this is the feel of Trisource. And to me, that's the success. Yeah. Because
you know, it's really interesting when you say that. A few of the people that we spoke to in behind the scenes, there's a similar feeling amongst that when the couple are involved in the running of the business almost becomes like a family dynamics. And I guess even if you went really deep into it, if you look at countries that are more run in that manner by husband, wife, family all getting involved compared to, not to throw you under the bus, but Putin, you're not doing very well doing it on your own. Like maybe you could have somebody there supporting. It could almost translate throughout the different, having that family dynamics embedded into the culture is what makes this success.
But it was something I felt. I was only there the day, and then we went 10-pin bowling, and just from an outside looking in, I said, this isn't your normal company. I've spoken to some big Fortune 500s, and you know, you can see there's a hierarchy, there's a tier system. It didn't feel like that. It felt like I just stumbled in on a local bowling team. And everyone was very competitive. I was that.
You did say the competitive.
Yeah, we were really competitive. I was that. Yeah.
Gee,
I am very competitive. But we had bowled the previous year, and therefore there was a little rivalry there. Okay. Some of us who didn't win the year before or got second place, and
it's all in I could sense it in the room. I was like, pressure's on. So I got myself to the periphery and was just on the outside lane. Don't want to bring any attention to myself.
I always like to ask strengths and weaknesses as well, but Matt, are you able to tell me what Wendy's strengths and weaknesses are?
I can tell you your strengths. She probably won't let me tell you her weaknesses.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Strengths, I mean, obviously, I look at her. She has a soul that is unbelievable, and her, the caring side of her, the inclusivity side of her, some of the weaknesses are her greatest strengths, if that makes sense, right? Is that the Switzerland? At times, Switzerland drives me bananas, right? But it's the reason everybody wants to be around her, right? She has an energy about her. She lights up a room. she's usually almost always the funnest person at the party. You know what I mean? Whether there's a microphone in her hand or not, she's having a good time. And that's just, for me, being able to sit back and watch how she impacts other people is so attractive, right? It's the moment I met her, she was barefoot in a sundress with a beer in her hand. And I was like, that's it. And, it was game over for me. And so, those types of things, seeing her with our kids, the strengths that she has, guiding them and the example that she sets. One of the things that we didn't mention earlier is that, part of her role as PTA and all the volunteering is that we were the coolest parents on campus everywhere the kids went because she was there always, right? And you think of kids that they get out of the car, I want to see you, they slam the door and they run, right? Like she would walk down the halls and the kids, hi, Mom. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? Not care. And that's rare. And I'm talking about, elementary school all the way to high school, and so for me, that's a strength of, the way that she has positioned herself to be influential, not only in our family's life, but also influential in everybody that she comes across. Now, let's get to the weaknesses, which is really important. No, I'm kidding. It's funny. We joke about it. She likes to be right. Let's be honest, right? She likes to be right. Mm-hmm. And I think that I can count on less than one hand the amount of arguments that I've won in 27 years. And you
were wrong in every one of them that you
well, according to her, the scorecard, if we had a scoreboard, it's
were you wrong or was it just easier just to give up?
I think there's some where there's both, right? And I've been wrong plenty of times, but I think that I've also maybe caved a little bit, just for the greater good.
Because you wanted to go to bed and not sleep.
Exactly. Higher priorities. Higher priorities.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah. That's right. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, the weaknesses side of things, I think the strengths far outshine any of the weaknesses that.
Does she praise herself enough?
What's that?
Does she praise herself enough?
No. Like she's that's the other thing. Another strength. She's very humble, right? Like very, doesn't not a look at me, show me, or look what I have. None of that, And that's again, and the number one thing I will tell you, the number one strength is loyal. This person is foxhole, like foxhole loyal. That to me is why we go back to earlier on. I said we're never going to break up. We're going to talk through it. We're going to get through it. That's not an option. It's not an option to break up. And that loyalty is rare in society, right? Very, very rare. And so for me, I do everything I can to make sure I don't fuck it up. So,
yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Same to you, Wendy.
Strengths and weaknesses. Like I said, I mean, his greatest strength has always been his heart. And I have said that from the day I met him. His greatest strength has always been his heart. It's always been that he's very generous. I mean, extremely generous. Matt, there's no good in having anything if you can't share it with everybody. And that has always been his philosophy. Even if you were like, yeah, I really like that shirt, he'd either get you one just like it or just take it right off, and say, I think I have a t-shirt in my car. I'll just give it to you.
That shirt.
Yeah, but that's just who he is. He's generous to a fault. My mom had a cracked windshield last week and she's like, this rock hit me on the freeway. And he's like, how much is it? And, literally pulled out his wallet and said, here, this is, you don't have it to fix. You don't dig into your savings for that. I'm going to just pay. My mom's like, no, I've got it. And he's like, he's just, that's who he is. And it's for everyone
So when you say to a fault, is that a figure of speech or is it sometimes?
Well, it can be in that, it's a catch-22, right? Where like there's the druggie on the street and they need money and Matt doesn't think twice to hand him, $100 bill, $50 bill, $20 bill. And I'm like, babe, like, why don't we go in the store and get him some food? And then he's like, you know what? It's not our business. Like the guy needs something and just hand him the 20 and let him figure out what he needs to do for himself. it's not my place to judge. And so then I say it's kind of to a fault, because you think, I think I want to feed the guy. I want to feed the guy. I want to go in, let's get him a bottle of water and let's meet a different need for him. And Matt is more like, it doesn't matter. It's not for us to judge what his need is. Let's just give him the 20 and walk away, And he's been like that since he had no money to give. It's always been, let me see what I can give this guy. Do we have any change in the glove box? And I'm going like, we are, I'm clipping coupons. It's an honest, it's not a joke. I'm clipping coupons and I'm trying to figure out when kids eat free so that maybe we could go out to dinner on Tuesday because the kids are going to eat free and we don't have to spend a lot of money. And then, the guys that, the homeless guy's getting the $5 that I'm like, I want to help him, but can we just buy him a burrito for $1 instead of giving him a $5, that kind of thing. So extremely generous, extremely good heart. He's a great dad. He's just an amazing dad. We're good cop, bad cop in our house. Definitely, I am bad cop. He is always going to be good cop in our house.
We look at each other, we're relating to
yes, he's definitely good cop. And I think my son would lay down his life for his dad because he has made it his mission to make sure that all of his dreams are met. And it doesn't matter if he's worked 80 hours a week. If the kid's got a game on Saturday, he's going to be at the game. Somehow, some way, he is going to be there, and where I might be like, okay, he's got a game, but then we've also got this and we've got to figure out, and we make it work. We for sure make it work, but he's going to be number one fan. We always say number one fan till the end of time, always. Yeah. Weaknesses.
Oh, there's plenty.
No, weaknesses. I think for a long time, I think it was really hard for Matt to trust that other people in business were going to do what they are supposed to do. And it was a one-man show for a long time. And I think it is just now that he's, within the last probably 3 to 4 years, I would say, that he's figured out that other people can do the job that he can do. And if you hire
delegation,
terrible delegation. That, Yes, he's a terrible.
I think it's a skill that very few have mastered.
I think you have a standard.
Yes.
And you don't think people can meet that
Absolutely.
standard.
Right.
My presentation is the unrelenting pursuit of excellence. You do it to the best of your ability. And I would struggle when I was in the military delegating because I'm like, well, that report, it's got my name on the bottom.
Right.
And so that's a reflection of me. So I can relate completely to that.
That's why we're having so many kids, so we can mold them.
Right.
Right. Clone them. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. And I think there's, he's a dreamer, which can be a good thing, but can also be a weakness because, like I said, there have been a lot of ideas and dreams that you're like, oh, okay, let's bring it down a little bit, where it's worked out in some ways. And then in some ways I'm like, that was a pipe dream. We already, I kind of tried to tell you that. So that's probably, I would say, some of the weaknesses.
Yeah.
Some of the weaknesses.
So obviously we have 50% of the family here. I think we need to obviously mention Jared and Giselle.
Is Giselle, so she's starting uni now, is she?
She will start in August.
Yeah. What's she studying?
She, right now, psychology. That's her idea right now.
And I'd be quite interested to see that if a few years down the line, if she came and she says she's met this amazing guy, complete dreamer, amazing dude, and she wanted to go down that same path, how would you?
We've always said this, and we've said it to both of our kids, if you ever can be in a relationship where, if I will say to Giselle, if anybody ever loves you the way dad loves me, you're fine. You're going to be good, and we say it to my son, like, if you can find a girl who loves you, he says, the way mom loves me, you're going to be great. You're going to be in this. And we're very affectionate around each other, around the kids. We've never held back on any of that. Like we hold hands, we kiss goodbye, we kiss goodnight, we say I love you all the time. He's a groper, constantly trying to grab something in front of the kid. The kids are like, no, Dad.
Yeah. We've got Molly, who's at, ew, you guys are disgusting.
Yeah.
And then we've got Tommy, who actually he doesn't like Dad touching her.
Oh,
Things
yeah.
like that.
Very
That's
protective.
Jealous, my daughter thinks one of us is dying of cancer or one of us is going to have a near death soon. Why do we keep showing emotion?
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
But I think it's key to show them that. isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as long as she's doing what she makes her happy, if they're both, and they can do it. I mean, obviously you can't just, everybody gives up something and you just walk around and we're supporting you. You know, that's not okay. But meet who you meet. And if that's the person who loves you that way, then go for it.
I'll wait for Matt to give me a couple of names to do background.
That's right.
Background checks and due
Exactly.
diligence. Yeah.
Well, she has
Check
her
this guy out, Dean.
She has her first boyfriend only since like 2 months now.
February. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, since February. She has her first boyfriend. And she walked in the house one day and she said, I just had my first kiss. And Matt said, nope. We are not doing that in this house.
Yeah.
We are not talking about anybody kissing you. It is a complete double standard. I understand if Jarrett walks in here and wants to tell me about who he's been kissing, I'm all about listening to Jarrett. If you start talking about some guy kissing
for your
you,
mom.
I will punch him in the face the next time I see him. We are not doing that.
Yeah.
So.
And Jarrett's you've touched on it already about the soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Not just any soccer player, is he?
Yeah, I mean, he started up playing soccer at a young age, and that all the way up through the academy system here in the U.S. And then he was the reason that we went to Italy to live as a family, which was a great experience, and to watch him follow that. It's funny, he's been graded a couple of different sports, in soccer and then football. Also, he's a kicker. And
same thing, isn't it? Soccer and football.
Right. Same thing in terms of So he's got two passions that he's really good at both, and exploring the best route to take full throttle. But he's fun to watch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like Wendy said, the being his biggest fan is it's been something. And I think as a dad, and being a former athlete myself, you try to provide the bumpers for the experience and the time that they don't make the same mistakes that you did, and guide them down the right path to take advantage of opportunities and best position them. So we've done, both Wendy and I think a pretty good job for both of the kids, getting them to places and being able to, play the sports that they love. My daughter's loves soccer as well. So, those are the two sports, soccer and American football, that are kind of, we talk about routinely at the house.
And you recently went to Italy.
Yeah, I did some trials out in Italy, and really, really good opportunities as a result. So he's taking a look at that and come to a decision point in July timeframe.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thanks.
And what's the soccer team? What's the preferred team in the Reeser household? Is that
in terms of for the longest, he grew up a Ronaldo fan, so Real Madrid has been plastered around the house for years and years. And from a football perspective, it's the 49ers.
Oh yeah.
For sure. I'm a Chelsea man myself.
Yeah,
I was as long as you didn't say Liverpool, we're good.
Yeah. No Liverpool, but.
Yeah. And are we coming up to like kind of empty nest almost then? Oh wait, what's next then?
That's a good question. What's next?
August is.
I keep saying he keeps saying he's going to put me in his pocket and I get to travel now. Wherever he goes, I go. I don't know. They're both going to be at San Diego State, so that's actually very convenient that they'll both be there. So long as that works out for Jarrett the way he wants with sports and whatnot. It's easy to visit. But I don't want to be the mom that's like, I'm here again.
Yeah.
I'm here again. I want to hang out. I told my daughter for a long time I was going to be life of the party, like Melissa McCart McCartney goes back to she goes back to college as a mom and joins the same sorority as her daughter. So I keep saying, "Do you want me to come back? I can get my master's now." Yeah, we'll all be there together. Go Aztecs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of the volunteer stuff for Trisource.
She's the head of the Vibe
Committee.
Chief Vibe Officer.
Chief Vibe Officer, we call it. Yes.
What's the Vibe Committee?
The Vibe Committee, they are responsible for all the cultural events that we do, like all the holidays for all the teammates. So, didn't you describe what you...
It's a mixture of things. It's some of the give back to the community stuff. So, for example, on Saturday, we just did Relay for Life through the American Cancer Society. Yeah. So we all, we got some of the team together and raised about $5,000 to donate to the Cancer Society. And then we did a walk around Central Park in Santa Clarita. And so that was part of the Vibe Committee. But then we also do little gifts to kind of excite the you come to work and it's St. Patrick's Day and you have a little pot of gold sitting on your desk, or it's Easter, so we did an egg hunt kind of raffle prizes, and so I'm the person at home who's shopping for all the things and putting the tags on and putting ribbons on and make it look cute, and then that kind of stuff. So that's the Vibe Committee. So it when we do retreats, we do baskets for everyone who attends, and then I go shopping and put them together and make sure they get to the location and that kind of stuff. So there's that. And then whatever they need help with, showing up.
So giving back, Trisource, does it have nonprofits that you support?
Yes. Part of the humanitarian, initiatives that we have, giving back, contributing to humanity is so important, locally here in Southern California, but also all the centers that we're involved in. A couple of them that highlight, we are focused on the Children's Hunger Fund. We've done a couple of really nice volunteer activities where the team has donated time to box up food.
Is that in California or throughout
It's all over the world, but there is a location in Southern California where we donated the time, and then some also some money as well to be able to help direct towards initiatives they have. And you wanted to talk about Single Mothers of America.
Yeah, there's a Single Mothers Outreach that we've donated to, and I wanted to help with some clothes, and we did that kind of stuff. And then just some of the local programs, like some of the local high schools. And
we're big into supporting the high schools that are around us. We also do, like Wendy mentioned earlier, the Relay for Life through the Cancer Society, which was a big event this last weekend. But we're always open. We do some efforts. We have a client that actually is a veteran as well, and really looking to identify ways to get involved in some of the veteran activities. We have a program for here in our domestic center at Trisource, our corporate headquarters, where we've aligned with the VA to be able to offer positions and jobs based on skill sets from exiting the military. So that's really something close. So really try to find ways to be involved, that the things that are meaningful, that are important, and make an impact on the community.
Yeah, I think we've seen that when we got here, when you were mentioning the children's hunger thing about the area we were in. During school vacations, they give out the food because schools sometimes the only food that a child gets, which is in 2023 a super scary thought to think that's happening with the amount of food that there is in this country. Really scary and humbling thought, really, but that's amazing causes. Yeah, well done.
I think one of the things it's great listening to your story, and Alana and I can relate to as well, is we get a lot of people will see from the outside, oh, you're lucky, oh, you're very lucky. And it's like, Alana doesn't like the word lucky, it's blessed. And you make your own luck. People don't see, and we've only heard a small bit, people don't see the hard work and the effort or the sacrifice that's gone in for you to be in that position. And so that's what I love about this podcast, is that people think, oh, very successful businesses, very successful people. But no, it takes takes a lot of hard work. But the key one I'm getting from a lot of it is communication. And you actually both, agreeing to what you're going to do for you to move forward as a family, as a couple. Like we now as a family, I say as a family because it involves all five, is we won't do anything unless it's been given the tick from all five. We never used to do that, did we? And I used to work a lot and then start seeing the effect it was having at home. So yeah, it's all
I think the communication side of it is so important, even down to our younger ones now, because daddy's always worked away. So Molly's used to it, and Molly's completely, not fine with it, but she's now used to daddy being away, whereas Tommy's now saying, I don't want daddy to go away, which is now giving Dean a bit of a different question to how he's doing it. But yeah, communication is everything.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And normally your last question, what is?
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much anyway to start with. But I always just like to know, because I like to know this. So I'm going to ask each individually, but what is Wendy, what is your purpose?
In life, in general?
Yeah.
In life. Wow. I think my purpose changes every few years. I think before having kids, I was very focused on helping kids in the foster care system, kids in group homes. For me, it wasn't about the money I was making, which is why I picked the career that I picked. I really felt, and I still feel, that those kids need more. They need more than what they're being given in this country and maybe in any country. And I think I may circle back around to that. Now that we keep saying, well, you're going to be an empty nester, what are you going to do? And that's something that's always been in the back of my mind. And I think it may be something I circle back around to and volunteer at and throw myself into a little bit more. And then once you have kids, I think your purpose becomes to be a mom. For me, that was it. And making sure, my best friend and I joke all the time that we're not raising assholes. And that's really like the bottom line. You don't want to send, an a-hole out into the world.
Yeah.
You want to send out a good person that you've really tried to raise the right way, so that they're not just thinking about themselves, and they're polite and they're well-mannered and they're here to look out for what's best for society and not just all about me. And then at the root of all of that, it's, being a good team, being a good team with Matt, and being a good wife, and being able to say, okay, he's supported me back. We've shown this to our kids. So therefore that's part of raising good people. They're going to know how to be a good husband. They're going to know how to be a good wife to whoever, if that's what they're going to choose to be. And my purpose will probably change now that I will be an empty nester at some point, and it may circle back to what my purpose was before I had kids, which is social services is something that's really deep in my heart, and I probably will circle back around to that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's my purpose?
What is your purpose?
Well, I'll tell you. No, I mean, I think that I want to continue to see the ground, the track that we've laid for our kids, to see how that unfolds as they take on their lives now as young adults. And I always look at, it's crazy. That's the one thing about getting older, right? Now you have enough time on your side where you can look back with some significance and go, God, 20 years ago, I was this age. And so, what my son is experiencing at 20 and my daughter at 17, I have very clear memories of those ages for myself. So my purpose is to be able to, be a support system for the family, for them in particular, provide guidance, but sit back and enjoy and watch the ride. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking forward to. That's the purpose that I have. And, one of the major goals I remember telling Young about being an entrepreneur is I said, I want us to be in a position to enjoy that time when it comes, not to be struggling, right? Let's struggle now so that we can have that experience, because to be able to look at your kids and how they are experiencing life is, that's what it's all about to me, right? Certainly my purpose is to continue to build Trisource and be a great husband. But I really believe that watching the product that we created together is probably my greatest purpose right now.
Amazing. Oh, you guys are amazing.
Yeah, and I think subconsciously you talked about the track and your kids and watching them involved, but subconsciously you're already helping hundreds of other families anyway, without actually realizing as well. So,
and maybe at that time back then with the foster kids, it wasn't. But now you've had this experience of being a mom yourself and doing all the things. What you're going to bring to it now is like tenfold.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see that.
And it's evolutions. I was on a podcast the other day. We talked about evolutions. When I was 17, 18, that was one evolution. 10 years later, your purpose in life, your changes with your situation, changes. Back then you may not be in a position to do what you can do now. So you can't really say you have one purpose in life. It evolves. With yourself. Matt, Wendy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Very good first podcast, Wendy. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to say thank you as well for raising that question during that guest speaking one, because that brought my attention to you. I was like, I wonder if that is Matt's wife. So
give credit to the wife. I think that's always, I like to hear it. I like to hear it because you hear a lot of people who don't.
Yeah.
Right. Who say the wife who's at home with the kids has the easy job. And I, being the wife who stays home with the kids, I'm like, that's not true.
No.
That's not true. There's a team with the team here.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be quite a few listeners on here who probably in that situation in their life, they may have just met their partner and one of them has to sacrifice to the other. And it's not to, and just to let them know it does work, comes with communication. There's no resentment at the end. It is a team.
Absolutely.
It's a team effort. Not one is just bringing in the money. You're both bringing in the money.
Yes.
No, but for me, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys coming down.
Thank you for having us.
Time flew by.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.